you so much for joining me on the Creative Awakening Now podcast. I'm your host, David Matters, and I'm here to bring you stories, interviews, and insights relating to the topics of creativity, inspiration, and practice. My intention is to connect with other people who employ a heart-centered approach to the artistic process and to share this profoundly inspiring content with anyone who cares to hear it. I hope you enjoy. This is a dream, and a dream is never the same. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Creative Awakening Now podcast. It's been a couple weeks, so thank you so much for tuning back in. It's been a crazy month for me, actually. The summer kicking in, the spring kicking in, rather. It starts bringing up lots of work for me. I do landscaping and handyman stuff and all kinds of outdoor work, which is great, obviously, but it's also demanding. And along with that, I actually recently hurt my back pretty good at work one day and was bedridden for a handful of days, and I'm still kind of recovering from that. So yeah, it's just been crazy. I don't know, everything in my life has been nuts over this last few weeks, and I didn't have time to reach out to guests. I had several people that I've been talking to, and everybody that I was talking to just had to push things back because they were so busy or going on tour or hosting festivals or whatever it is. And that's the season, you know. Just got to roll with it. And I've been doing this podcast for about a year now almost, and with the exception, I think, like 1 or 2 weeks, I've done an episode every single week. So it was actually kind of hard for me to face this couple weeks of silence, but I decided that I'm just going to deal with it and roll with the punches. And this show is ever shifting, and that's good. That's kind of in the spirit of it. It's I've done different things with it and kind of tried to evolve it to suit whatever I need, and to hopefully suit people who are listening and provide content, but maybe different content. It's always kind of changing for me, and this is just another element of that. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and start doing a little more of these shorter solo podcasts, kind of touching on some things. And the reason, obviously I still want to do the interviews and stuff, but I just had a lot of stuff come up, and I've had several people reach out and talk to me about my solo episodes and just some of the simple things that I've said, and it made me think that there may be something more to it than I would normally think. I tend to be a little self-conscious about just talking, not because I'm afraid to talk, but just because who wants to listen is my question. But that actually kind of transitions into what I want to talk about on this show today, in the spirit of full disclosure and honesty and all that. I wanted to go into the subject of fear and doubt, and how those two are linked. And with this show, let me just say this real quick to tie those two things together. There's always a like this kind of creeping element of fear that I won't have content. I won't have enough people reaching out, or not enough people will be listening. I won't be able to have the time. All these things, and it comes up with everything we do in life. We have these expectations, and we have this whole idea of how things should go. Our preferences for it, and that pretty much always sets us up for failure. In a way, it's good to have some kind of set plan, to at least to have commitment, to feel that sense of drive to want to do something. That that's different in my mind than having these preconceived ideas about what something should be. I have the drive for this show and for everything else in my life, but sometimes it's still not enough to quell that fear. And I have been approaching that more and more with just how busy I've been and more music I've been playing, and just my life is just crazy, plain and simple. Got so much going on, and don't we all? But that fear comes up, and it turns into doubt a lot of times. I have fear is like this primal thing that just, I don't know, it's just always with us, and it's something that we need to work with. But doubt comes up when we start chewing on these things and like letting our mind take control of it and just batter it around inside of our skull and go back and forth about this and that and like connect it to past experiences and what happened before. We build this big old crazy idea that really has no grounding. There's no place for it logically. It's just kind of floating about. um, and those things, they go far deeper than just my podcast or whatever I'm saying here. I think as a creativity as a whole, those are probably two of the most um, pervasive challenges that we are facing when it comes into to making something genuine, to making something from the heart, whether it's music or whether it's pottery or I say these kind of things all the time, just trying to throw out examples, but they're always the same. Um, Whatever it is we're doing as a creative act, parenting or doing our taxes, if that's your thing. Um, when we get into it, even if you've been doing it for a long time, even if you're insanely dedicated, this still comes up. I mean, I've been playing music pretty much full tilt since I was 16 years old, and which isn't as much as a lot of people and probably who still face it. People who play music for 30, 40 years. Um, there's these times where you feel like you're just, you're tossing in a pebble and just hoping that something's going to happen, so hoping that those ripples are going to cause some kind of shift in your life or, bring in the change that you want or bring in financially or emotionally, whatever it is, we're just kind of, I don't know, we're shooting in the dark and we're hoping for the best. And with that, fear is always attached to it. And like I said, I feel like fear is this kind of this primal thing that goes back into the old lizard brain, that it's this survival mechanism. It's irrational generally, but it's there to keep us alive. But when it comes to making art, this fear still drives us, and it's so strange. And in the tradition that my spiritual tradition that I work with, the Zen practice, my teachers are always talking about fear and how, fear and anger and these kind of things, and how they're not actually like bad things. They're things to work with. And when you sit with it and you work with it, allow it to be there and you kind of feel into it, you learn something about the situation. And with this whole project of mine, with my music, with my art, with this podcast, it's all been this kind of track that I've been on, that it started from early days with music and wanting to connect with people and stuff, and has built and has developed. But there's obviously been twists and turns, and it's certainly not where I wish it was, financially speaking, and connecting with more people. Those are things that I probably am lacking in as far as effort, but that's what it is. And this sense of fear comes up quite often, that I won't be able to maintain, that I'm not good enough. I never will be good enough. And this topic comes up a lot in this show, but what that turns into a lot of times is doubt. You feel it kind of creeping in, and then you doubt yourself and you doubt your ability to do things. And really, we all go through that. I mean, I've never met anyone who doesn't deal with that from time to time. Even, seasoned professionals in their fields, they still come upon this moment where it's, am I able to do this? Am I good enough? Can I really keep pushing through here? Will I ever make enough money? Will I ever reach the right audience? And I think that that's just kind of part of the game. It's there, and we have to accept it. And once we know the terrain, and we understand that this is coming up, that whether you're a beginner or you've been doing it for a long time, once you're aware of its existence and, can anticipate it, you can start to work with it instead of allowing it to consume you and drag you down and ultimately delay you, become a distraction from your actual work. And I've really been dealing with that with music and stuff lately. I mean, all of this obviously, but music, I've been putting in a lot of effort and breaking outside of my normal way of going about things. I've been playing in bands for basically since I started playing music. I generally write the music for those bands, but or at least part of it, and kind of share that time with other people. But for the most part, it's a large part my creation. But I'm relying on other people, and I'm relying on other opinions, and I'm relying on other people to take up some of the workload. And lately, because of many factors, I've been doing more solo stuff. And just right off the bat, before even getting into it, I have this fear, this tension coming up inside me that says, like you're not good enough for that. You can't, drive this whole train by yourself. Like it's just too much. The workload is too large. Your music's not good enough. Your guitar playing's you're not strong enough. You can't captivate an audience. All these thoughts that just keep on coming up. And knowing that this was going to happen, knowing that that's just kind of part of the thing, I don't know, these like insecurities that have been with me my whole life. I'm sure that we all deal with that in some degree, but I have dealt with a fair amount of it, and I'm at the point now where I've pushed through enough, just going for it, regardless of how I feel or the fear that stops me or wants to stop me. I push through, and I ultimately get beyond it. And because I've done that enough times, I knew this was going to happen, and I am currently watching it come up. But I'm working with it, like I said, with my meditation practice and stuff. It's a very similar experience. It doesn't even have to be a formal meditation. It's just looking at it, allowing it to be there, not feeding into it, and just kind of observing it. And a lot of what I see is it's really ephemeral. It's really fleeting. Like as soon as I push through it and I just go and I just play, or I just book that gig, or I do, write that song or whatever it is, I go beyond it. I get to the next level, and obviously the next level up, there's another insecurity waiting for me. And maybe it's like that forever. I don't know, but having the experience to back it up, to know that those things are fleeting, and to know that once you push yourself beyond it, you have overcome it. And I mean, there's no looking back. Like once you do it enough times, you no longer question yourself. It's like going out and attempting to climb a mountain, or do something, rock climbing or something, and you look at this wall and you think, wow, I can't do that. That's terrifying. But then you do it. Somebody helps you, encourages you, takes your hand and brings you along, and you get to the top, and you look back down, and you all of a sudden you realize, like, oh, I was capable of this. I could do it. And then the next time you see a wall, that fear dissipates a little bit, a little bit more, until you're crazy, what's his face, free solo and getting down on El Capitan, like that. It's not that I really suggest such a thing, but that's the progression of it all. And, some of my favorite artists and creators of all sorts, they talk about these kind of things where they, you start in a very humble place, very minimally, and you just kind of build it up. Like very few of the people that I love are overnight successes, or like pop sensations that just take off and now they don't have to work at it anymore. They're selling out stadiums, like I love some music in that world too, but those generally aren't the inspiring stories that keep me going. The people who just, they just have so much heart in it, and you feel it through the music, like the years of struggle and trials and errors and pushing themselves beyond that feeds into their music, and it just becomes more and more raw and authentic and real. And the style of music, it doesn't matter what it is. Just because there's this raw element in like folk music or country or blues or things like that doesn't mean there can't be in pop music or in jazz or something like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the real life experience that you feel in things, the real vulnerability. It comes from facing your fears, accepting the fact that you have this fear, and that it's going to be there, but still pushing through anyway, having the courage to go beyond it. And once you get there, you assimilate what you've learned, and it kind of fortifies and turns into this new thing. And that's what I have been facing, and I know that a lot of you are facing the same thing. I've had a handful of people reach out to me recently, not talking about this specifically, but people, so many people want to embrace their creativity. And I mean, plenty of us want to do it for a living, but even if you're not trying to do it full time, it takes some courage. It takes commitment, and it definitely takes resilience to get yourself in that place, because anybody can pick up a guitar and learn it. Anybody can pick up a paintbrush and learn a couple strokes, but to really express yourself in that way, I feel like you have to form a relationship with that pain and that doubt and that fear. And by forming a relationship with it, you learn from it. And that's what I've been saying. It's nothing in life is black and white, at least not as far as I've seen. Nothing is just straight up, here, do this, and next step. Like, it's not like that. I've tried and I've followed the prescribed ways that I thought existed and that would give me the results that I desired, and they didn't work most of the time. But that doesn't mean I gave up. It means that I just have to be creative. Have to improvise and work a little harder, and just trust in my own natural ability to do things. Have faith in myself, and I I hope that that's what everyone can experience from this talk. Is just knowing that really the fruits of your labor, the effort itself is the fruit, like pushing it through and coming out the other side. That's when the real harvest begins, because at least as far as I've seen, even in just a personal way, like I feel when I break through something and I put myself to the test and I overcome it, even just playing a show or something. Like I went out busking last night downtown in Nashville, and I hadn't gone busking in, um, I don't know, a couple years. And I used to go busking all the time when I was traveling around hitchhiking. That's how I supported myself. And for some reason, I got this like block. Maybe it was the different kinds of music that I was playing, or maybe it was largely my insecurities. I really don't know what it was, but I got to this point where I was like, well, I need to be going out and doing this. It's great exposure. It's a good way to make money. And it really is just a beautiful experience. Going out last night, I realized how much I missed it. And it was great. You meet new people, you have new experiences. There's all kinds of really interesting challenges you have to overcome. But it's just another one of those things. Like I had it up in my head that I couldn't do this anymore. Or maybe, not that I couldn't, but it wasn't for me anymore or something. I'm not really sure how that came about, but I challenged that fear, that doubt, and I'm so grateful that I did. It was so wonderful, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that. So if you're in the Asheville area, keep your eyes out. I will definitely be out on the streets as much as I can. Like I said, this time of year is really difficult for me, but I'm going to try and do it. And I'm playing a whole lot more solo gigs, and I'm trying to do more stuff with the band too. We got a lot of gigs coming up to the spring, and then coming in this summer, there's going to be a little lull with the band, but I'm doing a lot more solo stuff. So I'll be out there and pushing through, trying to get out of Asheville, trying to get to some surrounding areas and stuff too. So please, if you would like to connect with me musically, hit me up. You can follow me on Instagram, Creative Awakening Now, or on Facebook. You can go to creativeawakeningnow.com, sign up for the mailing list. I have been really absent on my blog posts and stuff, but like I said, that's just a season. I just have to accept it. I've just got way too much going on, and the podcast has kind of taken that place anyway. So yeah, thank you guys for checking back in. I'm hoping that I will be back with some more interviews very soon. But like I said, I think I'm going to try and do a little bit more of this stuff too, just to kind of even it out and be vulnerable with it. And I'm not going to worry so much about sharing music today. I got too much going on. I'm actually heading off to a meditation retreat for a few days. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to calming down this crazy mind of mine and sitting with it all and seeing what comes up. And maybe I'll actually dedicate an episode to that too. We'll see. But anyway, if you guys want to support the show, I would be really grateful if you go to iTunes, leave a rating, review, all that stuff, all the stuff that I'm always saying. Any of that was really helpful. Mostly just reach out. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know if these episodes mean anything to you. If you have any feedback, if you have anything you'd like to say, share. That stuff really keeps me going. People just connecting with me. I love it so much. It makes it feel like it's really worth it when somebody's genuinely touched by it or benefits from it somehow. So please reach out. I'm here. And stay tuned. I got much more coming up. So thanks for tuning in today. Check you next time.